my teeth cut in the 2008 Great Financial Crisis when I graduated from UC Berkeley. And obviously, that was a tough period for a lot of folks.
With that comes an emotional gravitas that is totally independent from the analytical lens of finance. And it's a deeply qualitative space, not just quantitative.
The importance of emotional intelligence, right, in financial advising. Like, do often people let emotional cloud their financial decisions?
Today, we're joined by two remarkable wealth strategists redefining what financial freedom looks like. Helena Rosenthal, a Los Angeles-based advisor specializing in equity compensation and tax-smart strategies, and Bromley Palamountain, whose personal journey fuels his mission to empower entrepreneurs and families with lasting wealth. Together, they bring clarity, innovation, and heart to the world of wealth management.
GameStop, AMC, it's going through the roof. We're making an investment in a company who has terrible fundamentals and doesn't seem to be positioned to be in business over the long haul. It's a fear of missing out.
We're reminding people that you can take out loans for education, but you can't take out loans for retirement.
What's the single most important step you think they should take to build long-term wealth?
We always start with,
Hey, everyone out there. My name is Alan, CEO of FreeCashflow.io. Welcome to Profit Powerhouse, the podcast where we sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs and business owners to uncover the secrets behind their success. We're here to learn what drives their growth, the challenges they overcome, and how they master their finances. Our goal? To help you achieve the same success while maximizing your profit. Let's dive in. Today's guests are two incredible minds who truly understand how to turn financial strategy into financial freedom. Helena Rosenthal is a powerhouse in the world of finance. With deep expertise in financial planning, wealth management, and financial advising, she's been guiding individuals, family, and business towards smarter money decisions and long-term success. Whether it's building generational wealth, navigating complex markets, or simply helping clients sleep better at night, Helena is the go-to expert. Joining her is Bromley Palamountain, a strategic thinker and leader in investment planning and portfolio management. Bromley brings a sharp perspective on how to align financial decisions with long-term goals. His work has helped countless clients grow and protect their wealth through thoughtful, disciplined strategies. We're diving into everything from smart investment approaches to planning for life's biggest moments. So grab your notepads. This is one conversation you don't want to miss. Helena, Bromley, welcome to the show.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so much for having us.
Yeah, it's great. We usually don't have two guests on at the same time, so this is very exciting for us. So if you guys don't mind, Helena, Bromley, can you give us a little bit more about your background, really what inspired you to get to where you are today?
Absolutely. Happy to. I've been in finance for 10 years. I come from healthcare. I have a master's of science, worked in public health for a few years post-grad, pivoted over to finance after business school, and so enjoy working with small business owners, entrepreneurs, and families on financial strategies and intergenerational wealth management.
Awesome. Bromley?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity, Alan. So for me, I started, I guess I got my teeth cut in the 2008 Great Financial Crisis when I graduated from UC Berkeley. And obviously, that was a tough period for a lot of folks, whether that was seeing their portfolios cut in half or walking away from underwater properties. So started in a W-2 world with enterprise rent-a-car and fleet management. Really had a business-to-business experience through that, and did that for quite a while, 13 years, and got through roughly to the pandemic and realized my portfolio is making me more than this job. Why don't I teach other people to get to this spot? And so dove headfirst into the world of financial planning, wealth management, and really helping people improve long-term tax strategy and outcomes.
That's amazing, right? This is definitely sought after in today's world where there's a lot of fast money to be made, but a lot of business owners don't know what to do with it, right? And how to really make it last generations, right? Helena, Bromley, people love to hear about the ups and downs of a career or a journey, right? And into entrepreneurship. Can you guys kind of go through some of that ups and downs? Like, what was any pivotal moments that you guys have come across that really launched you guys' career and get to where you are today?
I think the ups are that we're oftentimes the first people to hear really big news from clients, whether that's children, whether that's receiving inheritance, buying a business, selling a business, getting married, getting divorced. And with that comes an emotional gravitas that is totally independent from the analytical lens of finance. And it's a deeply qualitative space, not just quantitative. So that it's an up and a down because it that can be very emotionally fulfilling, but also so draining for clients when you see them experiencing these various life chapters, but also so uplifting when the current and tide is moving in their direction.
Yeah, it seems like you're very much in step with them, right? In the important milestones they're going through in life. Bromley?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think Helena and I are to have an interesting perspective because we're doing hundreds and hundreds of plans a year for families and
Wow.
businesses specifically. And we have a client base that ranges, from a 30-year-old to somebody in the midst of their retirement, right? So we try to, as best we can, take people's, hindsight or their hindsight being 2020, vision to somebody else's future and use those past experiences to give people a better sense of what they might expect. We find that a lot of the problems that might throw somebody's financial plan off are patterns, right? They're going to happen. It's not, oh, the market was crazy this one time. No, the market's crazy on average once out of every 5 years. So if you just accept that, takes the emotion out of it, you can make better decisions, and you can also do some mitigation strategies to make sure that the next time one of those comes up, you're planned ahead of it and you roll right through it, and financially, it's on to new highs. So, um, but as business owners ourselves, we're right in it with everybody else, right? We're building out our business and top line revenue. And as we expand to serve the community greater, we're hiring on more staff. As we do that, you see that dip in profitability. And so there's always this kind of give and take of, growing and expanding the business and needing to manage cash flow. And that's why we love partnerships with folks that can help with the tax preparation, but more importantly, the key KPIs and financial data that backs our P&Ls.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it's a lot easier to convince someone who has gone through it, right? Maybe in their 50s and 60s than someone just starting out in their 20s who haven't gone through some of those boom and boom cycles.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and speaking of that, guys, like what would you advise someone who, just starting out in their financial journey, right? What's the single most important step you think they should take to build long-term wealth?
We always start with data. We're huge advocates of data transparency. So knowing your numbers. And we always challenge clients to know intimately what the details of their balance sheet and P&L are. So whether that's what their burn rate is for their lifestyle every month or how much they socked away in an old 401k that they haven't looked at for many years and have to dust off that password. Like, convincing clients that these are real dollars at stake. Most of the money that we talk about is real money. Some of it is monopoly money. If it's like equity in a company that hasn't fully launched yet. But for the most part, we are talking about tangible dollars that need to have a description and need to have a purpose. We always start there by asking about what those numbers are, and if people don't know, we walk through a budgeting exercise. If there are statements that people haven't reviewed for a while, we'll sit there while they reset their passwords and then gain access to their money.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a lot of eyes being glazed over, right? When you start talking to them about balance sheet and P&L and data. So it's always very impressive when you can get their attention, right? To actually move forward on those things. Like me as a tax professional, I understand it, right? So talking about tax, they're like, wait, what? What did you say? Right? I guess sometimes some of that reaction sometimes. Probably anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think Helena's spot on that knowing your numbers is crucial. I think one of the best habits I formed, probably dating back to 2018, was I update manually in Excel my balance sheet. Go through every mortgage I have, all the investment accounts, and I just get a new number, assets over liabilities. Am I moving my net worth up month by month? And so I've got an Excel tracker literally with a new tab for every single month dating back to 2018, and I can see,
No, amazing.
wow, this year my net worth went up a lot or it didn't, right? And I think the other really important, just foundational piece, and it goes with understanding where your money is going, but there's certain habits that you've created, and those habits are going to tell you where is your long-term finances going, right? And so a really easy way to do a self audit would be to say, okay, do I have some kind of retirement plan or forced saving system for myself that is a habit that's supporting my goals across the short, medium, and long term? So, an example of that is a long term retirement. Am I putting in a percentage of income or contributing to any accounts on a periodic basis? Right? Because that's really easy to model to see at 60, 65, 70. How well does that habit support the future version of yourself? Same thing. Is there an investment account, an emergency fund, cutting out debt? You're doing certain things monthly, and if you can automate them, they will happen. And you don't have that emotional sort of decision making fatigue of doing the right thing every day. I kind of equate it to, if you want to be on a really good diet, it'd be great if you could just automate it and like, the food that you're allowed to eat just showed up instead of you going to the fridge and having to decide salad or the leftover pasta.
No, that's a
Chicken
business
parmesan,
idea right there, Bromley. Like if
you
food is
know?
magically shows up in the right portion and the right kind of food you should eat, I think I would more likely be healthier, right? And not develop a dad
Exactly.
bod. Like seriously, right?
Absolutely, right? Like
Yeah.
I was working shopping that in my mind, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, wow, the reason some of my health goals don't get hit is because I have to make the right decision every single time, and
Mhm.
there are choices that are bad, right? And so with finance, that's every day as well, right? So if we can help you carve out what should be saved to hit your future goals, whether it's buying a house, starting that business, paying off that predatory debt, being solved for retirement, and it's automated and you could spend the rest. Well, now you can spend that freely and guilt free because you are taking care of the important things and you're gonna benefit from that delayed gratification.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an insanely good advice for folks out there, right? Kind of like set it and forget it, right? If you're already kind of allocating your money towards those investment goals or investment funds, you're just going to those accounts, right? You don't even have to think about it because you've set up a great plan and it just going to for those allocated percentages, right? But probably like honestly, if you're tired of the wealth management game, you just got your startup idea, right? To pivot to now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't see budgets as punitive. We philosophically do not see a budgeting exercise as punitive nor judgmental. Everyone we speak with has a finite amount of money. Everyone in the world has a finite amount of time. So, everybody has to budget in some sense. So, I think that removing any stigma around feeling tight or feeling constrained or tracking in the first place, sometimes that's where we start. And once we navigate over that hurdle, then I think people are more receptive to the idea of just being a better steward of their dollar.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think some of these habits are not taught in school, right? Like you don't learn about financial management, you don't learn about financial planning, you don't learn about budgets. So really when you're an adult and you realize that, oh man, I gotta figure out what to do with my own money, right? And there's just
Mhm.
no classes usually that teaches those things. So like they need someone sometimes when they come into a lot of money to kind of be like, yeah, you gotta sit down and really learn these things, right? Or this money might not last very long.
That's a great point, and, I think the, Powerball right now is around, like, $500 million. But the reality is most people that win the Powerball or the lottery in general, they burn through that money so quick because these fundamental habits and skills aren't learned, on a smaller budget, and then when you extrapolate and you have all that money, you make just much bigger wrong decisions for your
Yeah,
money,
they probably
right?
see it as, I think Helena mentioned, like monopoly money, right? They probably be like,
Right.
"Oh, it's just a number on my bank account." See, that's the strange part of how we live now, right? It used to be easier to teach kids about money because we all carry physical cash around. Now it's like, we're in a
Yep.
cashless society now, right? Used to be like, you can tell them, hey, look, I have $10. If you decide to spend $9 on your toy, I only have $1 left, right? It's a little bit harder when just like a number on a screen to be like,
Yep.
to like more like drive that point home, right? Because they don't, that's not how they learn in school, right? They learn by playing with blocks, saying, hey, this is how many blocks you have, or this is how many slices of pizza you have, right? In like a
Yep.
cashless world, it's like a little bit harder to teach about money, right? And especially when they're also playing games like Minecraft and things like that, where there's all
Mhm.
these virtual currencies and to play, right? They see that as fun money or play money. And then you try to teach them about real money. They're like, oh, it's just another number on a screen to call a bank account, right? That I have to manage. It's okay if I run out. I have parents. They'll refill it, right? They'll refill it one day for me, right?
Yeah,
Do you guys run into those
experientially,
scenarios when teaching like the
oh,
younger
all the
generation?
time. I think the experience of writing a check and cashing a check
Mm.
by depositing your check in a bank, like you have to go
Yeah,
into a bank
exactly.
for that money to hit your account. The experience of holding a paper check versus receiving a Zelle is so fundamentally
So
different.
different. Yeah.
And we talk about that with our clients all the time of like $10,000 in an operational checking account feels a lot different than $10,000 in a Venmo cushion. Feels 10,000 like versus $10,000 in a 401k. And it's all the same amount of money, but because it's earmarked for a different purpose and because it lives in a different place, it feels like a different
Yeah.
dollar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So sometimes we'll help clients really operationalize their cash flow, and we'll see like you're spending $2,000 a month on shopping. What if we had you give yourself a $500 Amazon gift card every month? Would that feel more or less abundant to you than just spending willy-nilly? And a lot of people like the sort of manufactured constraint of having a gift card. It's
Mhm.
essentially a debit
No.
card.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the envelope method of budgeting, right?
Mhm.
It's
Exactly.
like, hey, here's your
Mm.
envelope for food for the month. $500 in there. That's how much you have, right? A lot of time people find that most effective because they see it physically being less and less and less, right? Than just a number on a screen, and like they realize, oh, I only have this much left. I shouldn't buy that wagyu and buy you know a lesser of a cut, right? To stretch me to the end of the month, type of thing, right? Type of thinking that you want to go through, exercising through.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the end of that,
Bless you.
they inevitably feel better because we've now eliminated the risk that they outspend.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I watched a TED Talk actually on Saturday. So I use my like dishwashing time as habit stacking, right? So I also watch like an educational YouTube video, and so this TED Talk was about this social experiment this guy did with his own family, where they play Monopoly, and everybody in the family has a different sort of, Monopoly personality. One of them's like, I like the chance ones, or one's like, I just always invest in the railroads, or I buy whatever I want. And so anyway, because of the feeling that Monopoly money is funny and it wasn't tied or anchored to anything, he decided to take out $10,000 in cash, put it on the table, and say, okay, the winner of this gets the 10,000, and everybody's playing style completely changed, right? So, to kind of bring that to, an example you could, do with your kids. One thing I'll do with my kids is we'll collect cans over time, and then I have the kids help me, and my kids are 3, 5, and 7, so they'll help me go down, we'll redeem them, and let's say we get 15 or $20, we'll go over to the Target and I'll say, okay, of the $20, just for even numbers, I take 5. I'm like, hey, this is for the future. We're gonna put that in your piggy bank, your savings when we get home. But here's $15 is 5 each. And now at Target, you can get a toy. So you have the choice. The $3 can they can syndicate. They can bring the $15 together and get one bigger toy, or
Mhm.
they each have a $5 budget. But interesting things, they're bringing toys that are way out of the budget. Well, we can't do that, right? Or they get it to match the dollar amount perfect, but hey, we haven't considered that there's sales tax, right? So like, we're
Ah,
having real conversations to try to anchor because there's billions and billions of dollars spent on making those purchases feel frictionless. Amazon spends billions on that, so it's one click to purchase and it's delivered. Disney's got, magic wristbands that kids can wave around, and next thing you know, you're purchasing things you had no idea about. So you got to watch them, right? There's in-app purchases now. Sometimes if you're not watching that as a parent, your kids are buying who knows why, stars, whatever. um,
no,
so,
I think Amazon is literally the biggest anti-budget tool out there, right? It's so easy to buy something on Amazon. Like my kids see me doing it, buying like household goods and stuff. They're
yeah,
like, "Oh, daddy just clicks two buttons and it's done." Literally, right? It takes two buttons to press
that's
buy,
great.
swipe. You bought that thing because they have your payment method on file, right?
And by
So
the
then
way, they're like,
they're learning that. They're just seeing that, and it's how easy it is to buy something, and they're like, "Yeah, there's no consequence." Right? I'm sure I have to password lock it one day, right? When they get more into like phones and stuff, like they literally can just go in, type unicorn toys because my daughter's really into unicorns and buy the whole catalog. I'm sure, like yeah, buy, right? Because they don't
yep,
understand the value of money at their
a-
age, right? They just think
absolutely.
it happens. 2 days later, the package comes to your front door. It's like, oh, this is
Put a
great. I love
smile
this.
on it.
Yeah, I love this world we're living in. They probably think they're like super wealthy, right?
Yeah, no concept, and, not to mention that, but it's making suggestions, "Hey, if you like this, pair it with this." If you bought something in the past, it'll say, "Hey, what about this? You might be low on whatever, just dish detergent." So yeah, they've got the game down, so we've gotta, put some counter measures in place, to thwart that spend.
Yeah,
Um
absolutely. Like speaking of that, guys, like what do you guys do differently, right? 'Cause I know you guys take on all type of clients, right? Do
mhm.
you approach wealth management differently if you have a individual versus family versus like a business owner that you're talking to?
Absolutely. So there are certain fundamental rules, right? Like everybody is governed by the same tax law, right? But how their income is taxed is different if you're a business owner and it's a pass through entity versus you've put yourself on a salary versus your W-2. But really, all of the planning that we do is bespoke to their goals and what they're trying to accomplish. And as a standard, we're putting ourselves in their shoes, saying, "Hey, if I wanted to maximize or optimize a plan to get them what they want in the fastest timeline possible with the least amount of risk, what would I be doing knowing what I know about this industry and that we spend 60 to 70 hours a week on this very thought experiment, right?" And so it's really about giving them time back and know that they're either on the right track or here's a couple ways to do things more efficiently. And more importantly, helping them actually execute it. Because what we find is a lot of people have the right ideas and they've been sitting on those ideas for a very long time. They just haven't done anything with it, right? Like, I know I should have consolidated my old 401k accounts. I know I should have started paying off my student loan debt. I know I should have, but they're not executing. So we can help them with the plan, which is the kind of the through line to where they want to get, and then actually execute it. And then we have a cadence of meetings to say, hey, we need to kind of pivot a little bit here or there. So corrective or governance measures to make sure we maintain where we're trying to get to.
No, absolutely makes sense. Helena, do you agree with Bromley's approach? Or do you take things a little bit differently with some
Our
tweaks?
process is the same across the board, regardless of how people are making or spending money, because everything is based on their financial goals and our fiduciary standards. So it enables our processes to be more streamlined than not. Where we see variation is in overall literacy. Sometimes people come to the table with a really strong sense of how their accounts are performing, what their goals are, great habits they've picked up from their family, great things they're talking about with friends and colleagues. And other people have never had this conversation even with their life partner. So that's more of the variation in conversation, not necessarily based on type of income.
Okay. That brings me to my next question. Is there a certain income or revenue threshold that you find is kind of like the sweet spot, right? When folks come to work with you guys? Like I'm sure listeners out there is listening is like, well, I'm making X dollars. Should I even be approaching these guys about my situation right now? Right? They don't may think they might not be qualified or a good fit at this time.
So it's all relative. We have some people say, "Oh, not sitting on that much cash, only a couple million
It's exactly
dollars," and
right. Yeah.
other people say, "Oh, I'm in so much, student loan debt, it's crippling, and it's $20,000." So all that to say, it's a spectrum. It's all relative. We certainly have internal targets, but what we have found is that we can be the most valuable to clients whose tax situation is inherently painful for them. So the more it hurts to pay tax, usually that correlates with the more tax you pay,
Yeah.
the more
Usually.
helpful we can be.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Understood. Okay. And then really what I want to talk about next is, the importance of emotional intelligence, right? In financial advising. Like, do often people let emotional cloud their financial decisions? Have you like any cool, fun stories? Don't give me names, of course, but like of stories of people come in and very confused about their finances, but then you're able to kind of turn them around at a certain point?
Yeah, I mean, that's I would say most of the places where people go wrong with finance is behavioral financial conversations, right? So it's a fear of missing out. So GameStop, AMC, it's going through the roof. We're all hearing about, subreddit threads and the short squeeze. And we're making an investment in a company who has terrible fundamentals, and doesn't seem to be positioned to be, in business over the long haul, right? GameStop is an example. It's, nowadays you can stream the game, so you don't really need a brick and mortar to go buy a package with the game on it, right? So, FOMO, fear of missing out. The other side of it is risk aversion, or maybe staying on a stock or a position that it's been doing poorly, and they think, well, if it goes back, then I'll get out, right? Trying to time or day trade the market tends to be a losing strategy. So we just try to help people understand the amount of risk that they're taking and what we've seen historically. Right now, we're seeing, in the last 5, 7 years, the U.S. large cap has done extremely well. But the decade before it, there was a 1.5% return over 10 years. So if it's outperformed for 10 years, it's because it's getting back to its long-term rolling average, right? And might also be poised to, have not do as well in the future. So just understanding there are a lot of different asset classes. There are a lot of different sectors. There's a whole world economy out there. Unless you're Warren Buffett, you probably shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket. And we tend to see business owners specifically have a lot of concentrated risk. They're reinvesting every dollar into the company, which if you're getting a 100% return year over year is the right place to be investing. But we don't want to do that with restricted stock units at a tech company, or have every dollar in Nvidia. It's a $4 trillion company, of which there's only one in the world, and its forward earnings is, its price to earning ratio is 55 times. Average is like 18 to 20. So it's very expensive, and any little thing that could go wrong could have a massive impact on that position. Or we see people that have every dollar in Bitcoin. Again, could go to a million, could go to zero. That seems to be a very, a bet that is taking on significantly more risk than you need to. And so, we tend to see some of those types of decision making. With Bitcoin specifically, we know a lot of Bitcoin billionaires. They just got out at the wrong time or lost their wallet, and now they're not. And it's just too much risk, right? So we want to make sure that we're building plans that will work, tested against a 100-year data set, not, if everything goes right, it'll work.
Yeah, I keep hearing countless stories of that kind where like someone has bitcoins but then lose their wallet and then, like they just can't get back in, right? And they just lose out on all the money they accumulated.
On the emotional intelligence front, we always make space for that in our conversations. And we know that when people have certain sentimental affiliations with money, whether that's inheriting a super concentrated position from their grandpa, like we don't want to be the bad guys and tell them to divest from this really speculative concentrated asset, but we just walk through the math and help them understand the pros and the cons. And if the pros are mostly emotional and the cons could be mathematically devastating, and then the choice is still theirs to make. We just want them to make, as much of an empowered decision around these financial choices as they can. I think also, um, for parents, helping families understand the order of operations financially for their family is always a very illuminating conversation. We meet with so many parents who want to overfund, max out 529 education accounts for their kids without taking a more comprehensive look to their own retirement plan. And, the our fear with that is that the children's college will be paid off, but mom and dad might be destitute because they're either still working well into an age past when they wanted to retire. And for some families, that's what they want, and that's fine. But again, we like to illuminate these implications and the pros and cons of doing or not doing what their emotional intelligence is compelling them to do.
That order of operations really hit home with me, Helena. I have had a lot of clients that come to me that says, "Oh yeah, I need to fund my son or daughter's college fund," right? But then I look at their personal finance situation and be like, "Well, you're not actually at an income level or savings level where you can comfortably retire at the age that you're trying to, and have the income cash flow to live off of. It's like, are you sure you want to plan your kids college fund first before taking care of yourself first, right? Kind of like what you're talking about here, right? It's kind of like you got to make sure you're going to be okay and living the comfortable life that you're trying to achieve in your old age before worrying about the kids, right? Because kids have a lot of time on their hand. They have time on their hands, if anything, right? To kind of make money, invest money. But you're at an age where there's not as much time horizon for you, right? To invest and reinvest and all of those things. So that really hit home with me, and that's something I will advise my clients also
Multiple times a
on that.
week, we're reminding people that you can take out loans for education, but you can't take out loans for retirement.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Right.
And Alan, you hit on it, but it's, investing is it's a compounding game, and the secret ingredient is time. And quite frankly, if you've done a good job with your kids, they should be able to, be able to provide for themselves, right? There's choices that you can make on the college front. And we don't judge anybody's decision, right? If they want to provide a Stanford USC education, then yeah, as long as you're doing the right things, and that's not going to blow up your long-term planning, by all means, right? But let's take a balanced approach to this. But also, with I think about this with my kids. It's what are the other options? Do we do junior college for 2 years and then transfer to the big university? Do we do they work? Can we get them a scholarship? Right? What grants are out there? But like empowering your kids to do some work to be in control of that situation, um, I think it is big, because ultimately I think the success of raising your kids is really how well, if they don't need you financially, I think you've done a great job. If they need you financially or emotionally, and you're a crutch for them, I don't think they're going to really grow and come into their own like they could have otherwise, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Helena, Bromley, obviously you guys come with just a wealth of knowledge, right? Pun intended there. But if you were to kind of break down for me, right, what has been kind of your key to success? Like, in another ways, like if someone wants to break into the wealth management game right now, what's the barrier to entry to be like as successful as you guys are?
it's a lot of work. So you can't. It's not like you're gonna see overnight success. Normally, right? It takes a lot of work. But I would say the one thing that has sort of anchored the decision making that I've made is that my financial house was in order when I got into the business. Not I got into the business and then tried to figure it out. All right. Robert Kiyosaki has a phrase that you know your broker, right? Your stockbroker. They're called broker because they're broker than you, and so we
That's a
try
good
to
one.
lead by example, right? And do the things that we're telling our clients to do. And I think you get a much greater level of advice and thought partnership when you're working with somebody that's done the thing or is kind of eating their own cooking, as an example, with the financial advice that they're providing. So that would be a big one, I would think.
Got it. What about
Yeah,
for you,
we
Helena?
we eat what we cook. We're small business owners, we're young parents, we have big lives, big dreams. We've both prioritized education for ourselves. There's a lot to learn about this industry, and the technical knowledge changes with the IRS code every year, as you know. So we're both students of the practice, and we enjoy learning um about finance, and especially about personal finance. Like Bromley was saying, he watches these TED Talks on a Saturday. We're always going to events and conferences to deepen our knowledge and to maximize the value that we bring to clients.
Before we dive into the more serious topic of how you guys manage finances and when your agency, I would love to ask one fun question to you both, if that's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Have a
imagine right now, a rocket ship landed at your door, right? And inside the rocket ship contains $1 billion, right? To me, that's infinite money, but we can never, we always don't think so. The condition is you're allowed to spend it on three things, but you only have 1 month to do so. Then the money disappears, right? So you can't just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna invest $1 billion, take the interest, and live forever off that," right? No, those options. The money disappears every month. What would be the three things you would spend that $1 billion on if you only have 1 month to do so? You can take a minute, think about it. Or if you already thought about these scenarios in your head before, you can just go ahead and let me know.
Well, you really limited us with the no
Yeah, so I know
investment.
you guys are a well planner, so you're
And
like, oh man,
any
what is
asset
Alan doing here? I'm trying to think long term, right?
exactly. Any
Yeah.
asset you buy goes to zero within a month?
You can buy a car, right? But it goes through the same rules that it depreciates and all that stuff. It can be fun purchases. It can be anything really. It's a fun question. So whatever you guys like, if you ever have to imagine if a huge pile of money landing on your door, no consequences, no like IRS or Fed's gonna come after you for this money, right? No taxes, obviously, right? It's like it never existed, and you just have those three whatever things you buy, those three things.
Well, I mean, it sounds like we're not really getting assets. So I guess what I would say here,
Good
in a world where the money could be used, like if I ever won the lottery as an example, I
Sure,
would
but
invest.
a limited lottery when it goes away. Yes.
I would invest in cash flowing real estate, multifamily, office spaces. I would invest in businesses, things that spit off enough cash flow, and then I would invest all of it, quite frankly, and then we could live and elevate our lifestyle up to the upper limit of the income that was spit off of those assets that we purchased. So that's how we would control that we would never actually lose the basis of the $1 billion in this example. It would continue to grow in value, and it would continue through good stewardship and management to spit off more and more cash flow and be very sort of inflation risk protected. But given that the prompt doesn't allow that, I would say I'd probably spend it on an amazing month of experiences for my young family. And so I would hire enough folks to take over the business for a month. And then we would go on we would just travel for an entire month and see everything that is on the bucket list. And we have the best month, best experiences, and probably, lifetime of memories.
Amazing, amazing. So Elena, if five random people show up at the firm, right? Bromley hired them, and that rocket ship landed on his door. So just to give you a heads up, right?
Got
That's what
it.
happened, right?
Got it.
What about for you, Helena?
Oh,
Have
what
you
about
had a
my
thought on this?
mistakes? Um, well, I was thinking along the same lines of cash flowing real estate investment that my children could benefit from, global travel. And I would absolutely want to earmark a couple $100 million for the endowment of our local public school district here in Beverly Hills. I think the opportunity to educate young people um, and be thoughtful about screen time to teach them skills and tools to navigate the world. We Again, we see so much variation in how people are educated across the board, and for us to leave a legacy where we know people are making better decisions because of the money, time, resource that we're able to give back, that would be extremely fulfilling for me.
That's amazing. So Bromley, if you ever walk by Beverly Hills and start seeing building called Helena Public Library, public school, right? The supermarket named after her, you know what happened here. So
I can't wait to
we're all
see it.
clued in. We're all clued in here. Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you for indulging me with that fun question. So now to get to the more of the meat, all right, of about podcast, our niche here is we want to prepare our listeners out there, right, for that long-term growth, for that foreseeable downturn in the economy so that they can survive through it, right? And the way we do it, it's just good, old school financial management, bookkeeping, right? To put it in solidly. And a lot of folks out there are not doing that, right? So we'd love to know, and you guys are foremost experts, I would say, in this topic, is like, how do you approach that for your own business, right? How do you manage the financial side of a wealth management firm?
I pay somebody else to do it because they do it better than I do.
Great answer. Yeah. Probably do you
Yeah,
agree?
so yeah, I 100% agree. So we automate with some systems and outside help. So that's key. But then it's really just distilling to some core KPIs. So making sure that revenue trends, profit trends, that we're escrowing money for our quarterly tax distributions, right? So just some of the basics. I love the profit first um, sort of methodology. It's from the book Profit First, but the idea is instead of having your revenue then being allowed to freely spend, and if there's anything left over, well, that we call that profit. What we're really doing is we're saying, hey, we're going to make money, and we need a certain percentage of profit, and so we take revenue minus profit. That equals what we're allowed to spend, and so that's been a good way of managing that we don't uh, overspend or that the money that the business doesn't eat all the money, right? And that there are profits and that we're building this with the right stewardship along the way.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Like any like favorite metrics that you guys keep track of or tax write-offs that you have, learned over the years where you're a tax accountant that you want to share with the audience?
You like cars over 6,000 pounds.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a great one.
That's a good hack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I think the biggest hack out there is the real estate professional status paired with a good, high active income. So real estate professional status, allows you to take passive losses, i.e. depreciation, and use that to offset your earned or active income. There, consult with Alan here to determine if you are rep status. But the idea would be to say, hey, if I was going to spend, $1 million in taxes this year, instead of paying the $1 million, you might buy, take $1 million, put it into a new multifamily home that's, leverage it with another $3 million. So you got a $4 million property, you do a cost seg study. Now you've got this big paper loss and you can really net down against your taxes. And now essentially the government is your partner in purchasing that property. And if you bought a good property that provides cash flow, now you've layered on extra income streams. So I'd say if there's one magic bullet, it's kind of understanding how that works, but you've got to really affect your situation. So for a lot of people, one of, if there's two people in the partnership, maybe one's got an active business. If it's in real estate, that makes it easier. If it's not, maybe the other partner in the marriage or whatnot could get their real estate license, manage the portfolio, and then use that law to have their investments help their current tax situation.
Ding, ding, ding. That's beautiful, Bromley. That's the first we have heard of this advice on the show. So I'm sure a lot of folks out there, I hope they pay attention to this part, right? There's just so many different things, like what just Bromley just touched on, are things that you may have never heard of, right? But it's available out there, right? If you do your research and really understand the tax code out there, that's really where all the savings coming from, right? Why big business is able to get away, why you hear all these stories about Google and Meta able to pay like zero corporate taxes. You're like, how do they get away with this? And why isn't our IRS after them all the time? Well, it's because they're using everything that's within the tax code, right? And you guys can too, right? That's really what we advise people out there to look. So, Bromley, Helen, thank you so much. What's really next for you and your business at this point? Is there any exciting plans or projects on the horizon we should look forward to?
I mean, we're just excited to continue to serve the community. We're growing the team. We're growing the number of CFAs, CFPs on the team. So to Helena's point, we're adding designations to our capability. But we really thrive and enjoy meeting with our clients, seeing where they're at, giving them a snapshot of okay, here's the level of the planning, kind of long-term tax strategy that you've got in place. Here's what we could do differently to affect a better outcome. And then getting to work with these families, help them not only on the offensive, grow your wealth, but also on the defensive of protecting it, which is just as important. So really take a holistic approach. It would be excited to, we work with a number of your clients. So we've had a really good referral partnership with you and the agency, and look to continue that.
Absolutely. Defense wins championships, right? So you need
That's
both.
right.
Anything to add to that?
We love working with the small business owners. We love working with families. One of the biggest compliments somebody could give us is to share our contact information with their parents or their grown children. And that's always so fulfilling for us to be connected to their business partners, their family partners, and to earn trust and to provide sufficient value that people want others in their inner circles to also be in a place of financial security.
Yeah, absolutely. Word of mouth is number one source of warmness, right? He's like, hey, someone knows this person, I can trust them too. If I trust like source number one. Okay. And then guys, so we do what we call final advice here on this podcast, is where we ask our guests to give one piece of advice to someone just starting their entrepreneurial journey. What would be, right? 1, 2, or 3 simple steps to get them off that couch and start kicking butt, right? What would you say is something that you can give your 20-year-old version of yourself, if you could, right? To say like, these are the things you should be doing to really have a great jump start in your career or entrepreneurial journey.
I think the biggest thing is create a vision for yourself, and where you want to go, and just understand that working for somebody else, it can be a great way to just kind of learn, right, the ropes, and kind of build your bankroll, if you will. But at the end of the day, if you want to take control, into your own hands and run your own business, it's wildly exciting. You're probably going to work twice as hard, so be ready for that. But you really do control your destiny, and you get out of it what you put into it. So just put your head down and grind, get after it.
Helena?
Yeah, I would tell somebody who's thinking about launching a business to go to some place where they feel very serene and clear-headed. Like go watch the waves, go hike a mountain, go somewhere where there's just not a lot of noise, and bring a pen and paper and map out a Venn diagram of things that you love, things you're passionate about, and things that you're great at, your core competencies, what you think you do really well, skill-wise, and focus only on that overlap. Where do those circles overlap with each other, and find the problems you want to solve in that area, And that's where I think the magic happens.
So create a vision board for yourself, right? Go watch some waves, maybe visit you guys in LA, right? Manhattan Beach is a great place to watch some waves, right? And then really just think about what you want to do. What's your strength, right? And how does that solve the world's problems? Great
Mm-hmm.
advice. Amazing advice. I mean, that's super detailed, followable, right? Just get on a plane and fly to a beach. Let's do it, right? Bromley, Helena, it's been great having you on the show. You share literally a wealth of knowledge to all audience out there listening right now. And you guys have a very exciting offer to offer the first-time listeners here. Bromley, you want to tell them what that is?
Yeah, so for the first 10 listeners that reach out, so we're gonna put a link to our calendar, scheduler link, and the first 10 people to reach out and book on that link, we're gonna do a complimentary consultation. So really anything in the world of finance that you've got questions on, we'll have some open office hours, completely complimentary.
Incredible, right? Guys, I would jump on this opportunity to have a conversation with Bromley, Helena. You don't want to miss out on this. I'm sure there's questions about how you handle your finances, how you should be putting your money into the future. And if you're ever confused about any of these points, these are the guys you want to go and talk to. Helena, Bromley, thank you so much for being on the show. We hope to see you again, maybe in a year's time. If you guys have some exciting updates for us, would you be open to that?
Would love
Absolutely.
to, Alan.
Thank you so much for being on here. Guys, thanks for listening. We'll make sure to throw all the links in the show notes below. And we're out. Thank you so much. Have a good one.